Hello. So this is going to be our kidney podcast 3. The little middle section of the notes that should have been covered during class time. So if you were gone from class, the last 2 class periods, we did talk about the countercurrent flow and secretion and the action of ADH. So those were covered in class. So we are jumping into what should be the last page of the outline. So after urine leaves the kidneys, so it's going to travel from each of the 2 kidneys down through 2 structures called the ureters. And the ureters are approximately 25 centimeters long. They're tubular. They're made up of 3 layers of tissue, kind of similar to a lot of our different body structures. So it has an inner mucus layer, and it's also made up of what's called transitional epithelium. And transitional epithelium is called such because it can kind of change in its thickness. We've talked in the past about how epithelium is usually a type of tissue that's found on the outermost or innermost layers of our body. The middle layer is a muscular coat made up of smooth muscle, both longitudinal fibers, so fibers running this direction down the tube, and then circular fibers running around the tube. And then the outermost layer is made up of fibrous connective tissue, so it's just a protective layer. So the function of the ureters is that they are the tubes leading from the kidneys to the bladder. And their job is that they will undergo peristaltic waves, kind of similar to what we see in the esophagus, pushing food down. The peristaltic waves are going to move the urine that's been produced in the kidneys down to the bladder. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the bladder. What we're going to do is go ahead and draw a picture of the bladder right here in this spot. So I'm going to switch over to a picture drawing place that I can use. So the function of the bladder is going to be that it's the sac that holds urine. And the picture of the bladder, I have kind of a theory about the kidneys and how people always talk about they have, kind of nightmares about being abducted by aliens. I think they actually are having dreams about having to go to the bathroom, because once you see the picture of this bladder and see what it looks like, it really, to me, reminds me of an alien. So here we've got our ureters. They're going to travel down from each individual kidney. And we'll take one over here. So those are our ureters. Oh, I can't write with this thing. So ureters. All right. Now our bladder looks a bit like this. So here's my alien concept coming in here. See, it's shaped about like that. Comes to a point at the bottom. So that's our full bladder. I'm just going to dotted line our ureters here as they go down back behind the bladder. So this is still the ureters, and they're going to connect into this triangular shaped structure called the trigony, where our ureters will open into. Oh, our alien is taking shape. So this is TRI GONE. So that's this triangular structure, and then these eyeballs are the holes or the openings to the ureters coming from the kidneys. The kidney has an inner lining, the urinary bladder has an inner lining of mucus coat. So I've kind of give an extra line here. travels down to this structure here, which is going to be the urethra. So we have 2 ureters, 1 urethra. And the smooth muscle of the kidney is called, sorry, got to turn my email off. Smooth muscle equals detrusor muscle. D-E-T-R-U-S-O-R. All right, so there's our alien. We dream about it while we sleep, and perhaps we just actually know what the inside of our body looks like. All right, so ureters coming down, the trigony, we've got a smooth muscle layer and an inner mucosal layer, and comes down to the urethra. So hopefully you were able to draw while I was drawing there. So I'm going to go back to our structure of our kidney, so that's what we've got there. Function is, it's that sac that holds urine until it's time for you to urinate or micturate. So the other name for urination is micturation. Oops. We have a reflex center in our sacral portion of our spinal cord. Your bladder holds about, or up to 600 milliliters. The desire to urinate usually occurs at about 150 milliliters. And it becomes uncomfortable at about 300 milliliters. So we actually are maybe doing a little potty dance by the time our bladder is only half full. So there really is extra room in there. So when your dad says, hold it, you're on a big long trip and they don't like to stop, it won't hurt you. So as your bladder fills, it actually creates pressure against the walls of the bladder. So as it fills up, it's kind of pushing or stretching the smooth muscle layer, and actually the reflex action to that stretching is that it causes kind of that pain, or it pushes against it, so those contractions become more powerful. So it is pretty hard to ignore when your bladder is completely full and it's time to urinate. So once urination occurs, then the urine is going to travel out of the urethra. So the structure of our urethra is that it is lined with mucus, and there's a urethral glands associated with the urethra that will secrete the mucus and create kind of a protective layer, because this is our opening to the external environment. It does contain a thick layer of smooth muscle tissue that's going to cause the contractions to move the urine down. In the female, the urethra is about 4 centimeters long. So just from the base of the bladder to the external environment, whereas in the male it is longer. It has 3 parts. There is the prostatic, so the portion that goes through the prostate, the membranous, so it's just traveling through kind of the body cavity, and then once it hits the penis, there's the penile portion. And we add all those together, it's about 19.5 centimeters total. So here's a question for you, who has a greater chance of having urinary tract infections, or UTIs? So we're looking at, we have about a 19.5 centimeter distance from the external environment up into the bladder versus a 4 centimeter difference from the external environment up into the bladder. So females do tend to get UTIs more often than men do. Again, function of the urethra is it's the tube leading from the bladder to the outside of the body. And at the base of the urinary bladder, there is an external urethral sphincter, and it is a skeletal muscle. So it is consciously controlled. And the job of the external urethral sphincter is that it remains contracted until the decision to urinate causes relaxation. So obviously, as you know, a small baby doesn't have complete control over that, and people who perhaps are incontinent or unable to control their urine formation or release, then they also may have that problem. One thing I'd like you to think about or look up is what are Kegels? Kegels are an exercise that you can do to actually strengthen the external urethral sphincter. They've been recommended for other things too, which you're probably chuckling right now if you've heard of Kegels for other reasons. So just something to look at, think about. All right, and that concludes our notes on the kidney. Spend some time reviewing those notes and making sure that you are reading the information in the book related to what we've been talking about.